I thought I was born at the peak, but I didn't expect to be labeled as a precursor to the downfall of the country. I originally wanted to mess it up, but in order to save the dog who came with me, I started an upgraded life of collecting ghosts and fighting monsters. Growing up amidst numerous tumultuous events, I never imagined that my country would truly perish, although I am not the main culprit of the country's downfall. Chapter 1. Crossing. Reincarnation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My head. Wow, wow. Zhuohua spoke in confusion. A baby cry pierced through the early morning night sky. Congratulations to the emperor, it's a princess. The empress has given birth to a princess. Zhuohua heard a woman's voice. Okay. Reward. The Fengyi Palace rewards you with a year and a year each, which can be considered as a reward for your dedicated service to the master. Immediately, a deep and extremely majestic voice was heard. Oh, you're still a generous master, Zhuohua murmured. Wow. Wow. But as soon as he spoke, he burst into tears. Wait, where is this? How could I be here? Zhuohua had a headache and gritted his teeth. Before Zhuohua could react, a swaying figure picked her up and walked towards the hall. Ear, please take a look. Our daughter, I finally have a daughter. You slow down, don't fall, our daughter. A very pleasant and gentle voice sounded. Ear, do you know how happy I am? I have 5 sons, and you know how much I hope to have a daughter. You have been saying this since the birth of the second prince, and now you have finally achieved your wish. Okay, I understand. This is a time of travel. Or should it be called reincarnation? Reincarnation with past life memories. That's right, the memories in my mind are still there. I can still memorize the multiplication table and recite the ghost-catching commands taught by my dad. Ah. This. Meng Po's work is not up to par. Your Majesty, give the princess a name. Zhuohua, I've already thought of it. Our princess will be called Zhuohua. Peach blossoms are young, scorching their beauty. When their son returns, it is appropriate for him to stay at home. Zhuohua, Zhuohua. I am grateful to the emperor, my concubine. The woman exclaimed with joy. Ah. The Book of Songs, I don't know which dynasty it is now. The Book of Songs has it, so do Tang poetry and song lyrics. It's over. The road to plagiarizing the works of our ancestors and masters will no longer be feasible. It seems that there is no possibility for the 300 Tang poems in space to be published again. No, where's my dog? Dog, it's not an ordinary dog, nor is it a pet dog. It's a space manager. Yes, you heard me right. The space manager of Zhuohua is called Guzi. When I first got the space, when the space manager introduced himself, Zhuohua smiled for a long time. This funny name originates from a common rule in this space, which is that when the previous owner dies, all functions of the space will be reset to 0, and the previous owner will choose a name for the space to be used by the next owner. Can we not use the name chosen by the previous owner? No. If not used, all the functions of the space will be unusable, even the simplest storage cannot be used. I don't know if Guzi came over together, but in fact, Zhuohua can't even remember how he got here. I only remember going on a mission with my second senior brother in my past life task out. Yes, why did I come here even though I was on a mission with my senior brother? Senior brother. At that time, the second senior brother was behind her, and she only felt a pain in her back and then became unconscious. She woke up. That's it. Here is its second senior brother. It's impossible. Second senior brother loved her so much, even though he liked her since childhood. After knowing that she was going to marry first senior brother, he smiled and wished her well, and even said he would give her 2 houses and 2 storefronts under his name as a dowry. If it weren't for second senior brother, then the pain behind it would be. The more Zhuohua thinks, the more painful his head becomes. Report to the emperor, Qintianjian seeks an audience. A loud voice pulled Zhuohua's thoughts back. Chapter 2, This is Daji's script, right? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The emperor frowned and said, Qin Tianjian. What's up? Returning to the emperor, Lord Tu said that the matter is of great importance and requires an immediate request to see the emperor. I will meet him at the Lizzie Hall. Lizzie Hall. The old minister kowtowed to the emperor. A white-haired old man with a fairy-like demeanor knelt down. Master Tu, please wake up. Is there something important to meet me in the palace so early? The emperor looked at the old man with a puzzled expression. Throughout history, the Imperial Astronomical Observatory has been revered as a saint by the world for his exceptional divination skills and his ability to discern the past and future through observing celestial phenomena. I hereby report to the emperor that the old minister observed the stars with the eldest prince last night and discovered that the star of the dangerous city suddenly lit up. He then divined a divination, which showed that the princess will have the appearance of a closed moon and shy flowers, sinking fish and falling geese in the future, and her talent is intelligent. Unfortunately, her beauty will bring disaster to the water and disaster stars will come from heaven. Bold. The emperor angrily patted the table. Your Majesty, calm down. The palace attendants knelt down one after another. Your Majesty, the dangerous city star suddenly lit up, which is an ominous sign. The last time the dangerous city star appeared, the previous dynasty died. Tuda said with grief and indignation. Well, the emperor fell back to his seat. What should I do? Your Majesty, what we can do now is to execute the disaster star to protect our Ming dynasty for generations to come, said Lord Tu firmly. The palace was quiet, and the palace people even slowed down their breathing, afraid of disturbing the silence and even more afraid of angering the already angry emperor. Is there no other way? After a long time, the emperor finally spoke slowly. Your Majesty, the old minister is incompetent. The answer was irrelevant, but the answer was clear. Empress, you cannot enter. Get out of the way. This palace wants you to get out of the way. There was a commotion outside the hall, and then the door was opened. Master Tu, this palace and the princess have no grudges or grievances against you. You are so malicious, what do you want to do? The empress lightly twisted her hair, put on a crescent-colored regular dress, and hurriedly rushed to the Lizzie Hall, not even caring about dressing. The queen, who was originally lying in bed immersed in the joy of giving birth, was so shocked by the report from the palace maid Ningxiang who hurriedly came in that she forgot about her original joy and postpartum pain. What are you saying? Empress, Lord Qintian of the Imperial Academy said that the princess is unknown and wants the emperor to execute the Lord. In the end, Ningxiang said in a voice that she could hardly hear. What? Unknown. I've only been in this world for less than 2 hours now, and I'm going to be executed. Zhuohua opened his eyes and looked at the initiator who said he wanted to execute him. He had a fairy-like appearance, with gray hair. If it weren't for his official attire, he would have looked like an old Taoist with a white beard. Master. Why does this man look exactly like his modern Shigong? The modern master is actually his own grandfather, but he doesn't let her call him his grandfather. So the senior brothers in the same generation have no idea that their master is actually the grandfather of their junior sister. How can you say this, madam? I only follow the stars and hexagrams and have no grievances. His mind drifted away, and Zhuohua stared at the man who was exactly like his Shigong. Why did you force the emperor to execute the princess? The empress said angrily. Old minister. Your Majesty, I present this message to the emperor, all the ministers are seeking an audience. The same loud voice made Zhuohua look at him and realize that he was actually a eunuch. It's rare to see eunuchs with such loud voices. Aren't those eunuchs on TV all duck throats? Xian. I kowtow to the emperor. Let's all get up, you gentlemen, the emperor said lightly. Your Majesty, I have heard that the princess is an ominous person. I pray that the emperor, for the sake of the country, will execute the ominous person. Your Majesty, please think for the sake of the country. Okay, they're all here to cause trouble. You are reckless. The emperor was furious. Master Tu, are you bringing all kinds of civil and military officials to force the emperor? The empress wished she could tear up the old man. The empress calmed down. This matter has nothing to do with Lord Tuesday. I listened to Lord Tu and the eldest prince discussing this matter, and I was afraid that the emperor and empress would have compassion, so I came to discuss it with all the adults. A middle-aged man with a large belly said with a righteous tone. This looks like a villain. Deliberation. Is this the appearance of discussion, Lorden? Tu said weakly. The reason why I went to the palace early in the morning to meet was that I didn't want to make everyone know that it would embarrass the emperor and empress. I am also thinking for the sake of the country and the country, said the person who was called Lord and by Lord Tuesday. This shouldn't really mean executing me, Zhuohua murmured. Wow, wow, wow. Unfortunately, the sound was just a burst of crying. Your Majesty, the princess's crying voice is so loud that it's not something a normal baby should have. It shows that the princess is different from ordinary people. Another adult bowed down and spoke angrily. Nonsense, you're all going to kill me. Can't you make me cry? Zhuohua smiled angrily. Wah wah. Wah wah. The sound was still bursts of crying. Your Majesty. Your Majesty. The ministers spoke and chattered, causing the emperor a headache. Everyone shut up. If I don't execute the princess, what do you want to do? If the emperor doesn't execute the princess, please execute the ministers and others, said the villain surnamed him. Tsk, this little devil is really pitiful. He was about to be killed by these old men when he was born. A faint voice of the child came from above. Zhuohua is confused, there is a little ghost floating back and forth in the main hall. Seeing Zhuohua staring at her, the little ghost floated up to her and shook herself. Little ghost, why are you staring at me? Not long after, you're just like me. Wow, wow, wow. Who wants to be like you? Zhuohua continued to stare at him. At this moment, the old man walked towards the queen, to be precise, towards her. I saw him fold his right index and middle fingers together and place them on her forehead, reciting words. Suddenly, the old man opened his eyes and said, Heaven's will, heaven's will. Immediately, Lord Tu knelt down and said, Your Majesty, I have a method to crack it. Is Mr. Tu really true? The emperor asked in an instant, his eyes filled with hope. Your Majesty, the old minister has just said that the princess will have the appearance of closing the moon and blushing the flowers, sinking fish and falling geese in the future, and her talent will be intelligent. Unfortunately, her beauty will bring disasters and stars from heaven. If the princess is talented, she will surely have both talent and beauty, overthrowing the country in the city, causing wars and suffering, and even causing the downfall of Mingzhou, changing the fate of countless people. Therefore, for today's plan, we must not let the princess have wisdom. Ah! What is the beauty of a country and a city? Why does this line sound so familiar? Did you take Daji's script? Ha! It's like what the old man with a white beard told my father back then, said the little ghost's voice. Chapter 3. Go to the Imperial Villa. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Isn't this little ghost a boy? Is it certain that the downfall of the country and the downfall of beauty can be attributed to him? Zhuohua stared at him curiously. Who exactly is this child? How could you wander around in this palace? It seems that his identity was not low during his lifetime. What Lord Tu means is for the princess to have no knowledge and live a mediocre life. The empress said sadly. Returning to Empress Dowager, you can understand it this way, said Master Tu slowly. Emperor. The empress placed her last hope on the emperor. If that's the case, then let the princess go to the imperial estate to raise her, without the need to learn etiquette, knowledge, or even literacy, the emperor said calmly. This isn't it too hasty? When I was just born, wasn't this emperor still very happy? It seems like I am looking forward to my daughter so much. How could it be so easy to make such a hasty decision about my daughter's future fate because of the so-called dangerous city star? Although I am familiar with etiquette knowledge, even music, chess, calligraphy, painting, and the 4 books and 5 classics in modern times, it is quite unpleasant to say from my father that she is not allowed to learn, even though this person has been my father for a whole day without any experience. Zhuohua was crazy about roast. Your Majesty, are you so patient? This is your daughter. The empress wept bitterly and questioned. You are not unaware of the dangers of the star of dangerous city, and I have no choice but to do so. The emperor's face turned pale. Speaking of which constellation is this dangerous city star, how come I have never heard of it before? Is this time and space not the same as the time and space I am in? Zhuohua tried hard to prop himself up and see the service of these people and the decoration inside the hall. Hannah herself is just a little girl born less than a day ago. Not to mention propping up her body, she can't even control herself when she opens her eyes. Since that's the case, please allow me to go to the imperial estate with the princess. The empress spoke calmly, her voice choking. No way. The emperor refused without even thinking. It seems that this mother really loves herself, Zhuohua was thinking when suddenly a burst of tears came from above her head. Woo-woo. Woo-woo. What's wrong with this little ghost? Why did it suddenly cry? That's right, the crying was made by the little ghost floating around in the hall. Woo-woo. How could this little ghost's mother be so good? When my mother heard the star of the dangerous city, she wished she could strangle me immediately. Woo-woo. It was still the Empress Dowager. Woo-woo. She saved me. Woo-woo. It seems that they are both fallen people from the ends of the earth. My concubine's decision has been made, and I hope the emperor agrees. You are the mother of a country, don't forget your responsibility. Someone, send the empress back to Fengyi Palace. Zhang Huai takes the princess away. The emperor shouted to the palace attendant, suppressing his anger. The father-in-law with a loud voice just now wanted to hold Zhuohua from the empress's arms. No. This is my daughter, no one can take her away. The empress shouted while protecting Zhuohua. Perhaps too excited, the empress's embrace made Zhuohua feel dizzy. Do you want me to do it myself? Zhuohua actually really wants to tell the empress, why not let herself go to the imperial estate without studying? As a princess, no matter how bad she is, she can have food, drink, and shelter, right? Starting to enjoy retirement life with just one step in place is her lifelong wish. Unlike in modern times, learning English at the age of 2, programming at the age of 3, musical instruments and dance at the age of 4, calligraphy and painting at the age of 5, and starting to learn various terms and skills from one's father and teacher at the age of 6 until the age of 25, it can be said that I have learned all the skills that can be spoken on the market, and I am proficient in 14 languages alone. In fact, these are not what she likes. The reason why she has learned so much is mainly because of her mother. Her mother is a typical type of person who cannot fly, lays an egg, wants it to fly hard, and even flies the highest. Her grief stems from one day when she was 2 years old. On a TV program, the host said, "Good morning," and she perfectly repeated it. Her mother thought she was a genius child, and then began various enrollment programs. Perhaps she is really a genius child, at least she can learn everything her mother taught her very well, even topping the charts for a long time. But none of these are what she likes. To be honest, everything she has done over the years has not been something she likes herself. All of her halo is meant to be draped over her mother. I don't know how her mother felt when she just hung up like this. What would be the feelings of dad, master, and senior brother, who are her fiancé? Just as he was thinking about these things, the emperor had already taken him away and looked at the empress with sorrow as she was sent out of the palace by the palace people. Then he lowered his head and looked at himself, his eyes filled with sadness, reluctance, and fear. Maybe it's because I'm afraid of that so-called dangerous city star. Zhang Huaid, please arrange to send the princess to the imperial estate today. Ningxiang and Xiaolizi will follow. Everything is arranged properly, and we must not underestimate my princess. Remember. We must not let the princess have knowledge. The emperor spoke slowly, unable to hear his emotions. Don't worry, emperor. I will do my best. Zhang Gonggang wiped away his tears. Zhang Huaida's office efficiency was high, and after about 4 hours, a group of people marched out of the palace to the imperial palace. There were 2 older women sitting in the carriage. One was a wet nurse who had just fed her twice, the other estimated to be either a wet nurse or a nanny, and there was also an incense stick holding her. So, on the first day of Zhuohua's birth, before she could enjoy the glory and wealth in the palace, she was already kicked out of the group chat. Can this be considered the most unlucky time-traveling female lead in history? Chapter 4. Arriving at the Imperial Villa. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The carriage was swaying and swaying as the wet nurse slowly spoke. How long will it take to get to the Imperial Palace? I heard from the young palace maid that it's not close to get to the Imperial Palace from the capital. At the current speed of the carriage, it will take 2 days to reach the Imperial Palace, Ningxiang said. Ah! This princess has just been born, and she has to run around so much. Poor princess, poor queen, this journey is so far. If anything happens to the princess, how can the old servant treat the empress well? The woman next to her, besides the wet nurse, wiped her tears and said. Rome mama, don't be sad. Let's take good care of the princess so that the empress can rest assured, Ningxiang comforted. Rome mama. Shouldn't it be the villain, right? But since she is on the side of the queen, it seems that this Rome mama is also on her side. Even if she is a villain, she should be on her side, right? Zhuohua thought out of his mind. At the moment when the scorching flowers were lost in thought, a wisp of white smoke suddenly crawled into the top of the carriage. Ah Piao. This is a disheveled female Ah Piao, with a pale face and extremely beautiful features, dressed in white clothes. Suddenly, the female Ah Piao looked at Zhuohua. Don't come over. Zhuohua roared inwardly. It's not because she's afraid of her, it's because she's still young and weak. If Ah Piao stays by her side for 2 or 3 days, she'll have to explain. If it were my previous self, with this level of Ah Piao, I wouldn't even need to reverse my hand. Go away. With a childish scolding. Then he crawled into another Ah Piao. Little devil. The little ghost floating around in the Lizzie Hall. Why did he come along too? Female Ah Piao was stunned for a moment, then drifted out. Just leave. That girl Ah Piao seems quite afraid of this little ghost. TSK, little ghost, this palace has saved your life. The little ghost pulled Changyin slowly and said. You are also a drifter. Still a little ghost, Ah Piao. Zhuohua stared at him and slandered. The little ghost stared at Zhuohua and murmured, I always feel like you can see me. Can you see me? If you can, please respond. Zhuohua really wants to roll his eyes, his age is only 1. Oh my. How do you expect me to respond to you? Quiet, forget it, you don't know how to speak. I'd better stay away from you. I'm afraid I'll kill you. You know, this palace is very strong. The little ghost said and disappeared in a flash. Isn't it just a blink of an eye? However, Zhuohua feels that he is really weak now. Apart from being able to see these Ah Piao skills, he has lost all other skills, and it is unclear whether he has lost them or if he is too young. I drove around like this for 2 days, but fortunately there were inns along the way. Otherwise, Zhuohua was really worried that he wouldn't be able to survive. It was too tiring, even though he spent most of his time sleeping. Finally, she arrived at Huangzhuang on the morning of the fourth day of her birth. As soon as he got off the carriage, a middle-aged man led the crowd to greet him, "See princess. Let's all get up," Grandma Rong spoke for Zhuohua. "Rongjie, settle down first. All the old slaves in the village have been sorted out," the middle-aged man said. "Well, the princess is tired from the boat and carriage. Let's settle down and rest first, and then talk about the rest," said Rong Mama as she walked with Zhuohua in her arms. Zhuohua actually really wants to see what this imperial mansion looks like, but with his small physique, he has more heart than strength. Just as Zhuohua was looking around, Rong Mama entered a sedan chair and said she was looking around, but in fact, she moved her eyes. "Yeah, I still need to sit in a sedan chair, so it seems that this place for me to retire in the future is not small. A sedan chair is more comfortable than a carriage, like a cradle." It's so sleepy. I don't know how long it took, but Zhuohua felt hungry and woke up. At this point, he was lying flat on the bed. He looked at the top of the bed and then at the nanny guarding him beside him. Suddenly, he thought to himself, it seems like he hasn't cried much since he was born. Can this be abnormal? Forget it, let's play the role of this age group well so, wow, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Zhuohua Mao burst into tears. The princess is hungry, isn't she? The wet nurse picked her up and deftly stuffed her own ration into her mouth. Zhuohua was gagged and instinctively sucked on it. In fact, in modern times, the thing I hate the most is dairy products, but in this situation, there is no need to choose. Chapter 5. Huangzhuang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a few days of rest and recovery, the exhaustion of those 2 days on the road was dispelled, and everyone was ready to immerse themselves in a brand new life. These days, the steward came to report to Grandma Rong about the current situation in the village. The steward surnamed Zhou was a soldier stationed at the border before coming to Zhuangzi. During a war, he blocked an arrow and injured his body for the emperor who was still a prince at the time. There was no possibility of carrying a sword to the battlefield, so the emperor arranged for him to come to this Zhuangzi. This village is located about 400 miles south of the capital, covering an area of over 3,600 acres, wow. More than 3,600 acres, that's about 2.5 square kilometers. This is not Zhuangzi, it's clearly a village. Developed. Zhuangzi has a large number of fertile fields, mainly growing basic grains such as rice. Most of them are taken care of by domestic servants, and some are from nearby farmers. On the left side of Zhuangzi, there is a small stream that happens to be not far from the rice paddies, which saves farmers a lot of effort. There is a mountain on the right, a very gentle small mountain, with some fruit trees planted, but it has a strong ornamental value. The fruits are not delicious, astringent, and sour. Their future residence will be located in front of the small mountain, and the courtyard where Zhuohua lives is planted with many peach blossoms, which is in line with her name. It's the autumn harvest season now, so Manager Zhou is quite busy. After settling in with everyone and reporting on the situation of Zhuangzi, he went to work. Mainly because of her, who is still a few days old and has nothing to explain, everything is being handled by Rong Mama and him. Autumn harvest. It seems that the weather is not very cold, only a hint of coolness. It seems that I am now in the south. I really want to visit my own village. Well, Zhuohua lay on the cradle, thinking steadily. Shoo, a white smoke drifts in, little ghost, your imperial estate is really big. It took me a few days to fly and visit it. Inside and outside that mountain is not bad, it has a spring eye, it's still a hot spring, but it hasn't been developed yet. Perhaps the people in Zhuangzi are unaware of the existence of this spring eye also. Those fruits don't grow well either, small and ugly, but those rice plants are growing quite well also. There is a person named Li Si on your estate who is bad. The night before yesterday, I saw him secretly pack 2 bags of rice and go out. There is also someone named Xiaoya, who is in love with someone named Tinu, but this Teniu's family despises Xiaoye for being a slave and was hitting a mandarin duck the day before yesterday. That weak steward, his daughter looks about the same age as you, but she either sleeps or cries every day. This little devil, as soon as he comes in, he keeps talking incessantly. He's a talkative. Piao Zhuohua was unable to respond to him. Sigh. Can you really see me? In addition to visiting your village these days, I have also helped you drive away various ghosts. You should repay me well when you grow up. The little ghost is still talking to himself. You go in quickly, I have already taken away the wet nurse. That Rong mama is lecturing in the front yard, please hurry up. A woman pressed her throat outside the door and said. Got it, you keep an eye on it, a lowered male voice said. Then the door was gently pushed open, and a man tiptoed in. Li Si. This is that Li Si. The little ghost chattered on his head. Zhuohua made an effort to look at Li Si, who looked like a lewd uncle. It seems like he's coming in to steal something. Chapter 6. Fa Luo Li Si. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Li Si tiptoed open the box placed in the corner, tsk. This princess has brought so many good things out of the palace. Li Si picked up a fist-sized night pearl and said, then untied the cloth bag fastened around his waist. I cow. Night pearl. The night pearl with such a big fist, that's mine. And I also took such a big cloth bag. Blazing Huang Dao. Little ghost, shut up quickly. When he finds out you're awake, you're done, said little ghost away. Zhuohua. What, shut up. He's all here to steal from me, and I'll just shut up. Wow. 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 Zhuohua cried loudly. What's wrong with you? Why did you make her cry? The woman outside pushed the door in and angrily said to Li Si. Perhaps she was hungry or something, and suddenly she cried, Li Si explained as his hand continued to fill the cloth bag. The woman walked over to Zhuohua and picked up a pillow by the bed. Zhuohua. What do you want? Don't come over. It's over, little ghost is going to be over. Hurry up. Help. Little ghost Piao jumped up and down in a hurry. Zhuohua was still regretting that she had just cried out, so the woman covered Zhuohua's face with a pillow. It's over, it's really over now. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have cried. The night pearl is truly precious, and its life value is even higher. It's not too late for a gentleman to seek revenge for 10 years now. It's over, not to mention 10 years, just 10 days, and it's all over. Master. Master. It seems like the sound of a dog. Did you hang up on your own and reunite with Guzi on Huangzhuang Road? Zhuohua feels like she's about to lose oxygen. This is the feeling of suffocation. Just when Zhuohua felt like he was almost unconscious, he felt a piercing pain in his body. Lifting his heavy eyelids, a middle-aged man with a beard came into view. Doctor Hu, how is the princess? Speak up, was the voice of Grandma Rong. Rong Mama's voice, did you save yourself? The princess woke up and was fine for the time being, but she was still young and had to rest well after all this trouble. The middle-aged man, known as Hu Tai, arched his hand at Grandma Rong. Thank you for your hard work, Dr. Hu. After thanking Grandma Rong, she summoned the wet nurse to take good care of Zhuohua, while she went out. It seems that someone came in to rescue Zhuohua just as she was almost covered, and those two people should have been caught. My life has been saved, and the night pearl has also been saved. Zhuohua was a bit scared. Just now, he was too impulsive. With his small physique, he knows nothing but cry. For the sake of his life, he can't be so reckless in the future. Zhuohua finally recovered and was summarizing his experience when the little ghost above his head spoke angrily, you said you're not stupid. Tell you to shut up, and you cried louder and louder. You almost came to be with me just now. Do you know, I can see a circle of white light around you. Zhuohua. It's really fake, but it seems like I heard the sound of a dog just now. I don't even know if I'm so nervous that I'm going crazy. I just heard a little ghost shouting, Master. The little ghost continued to nag. I heard a little ghost calling out to its master. Huangzhuang suddenly widened her eyes. Calling the owner, I just heard the dog calling the owner and thought it was my own hallucination. It doesn't seem like just where exactly did this dog go. I haven't seen Guzzi for so many days, so I thought Guzzi didn't travel with her. Not right. Can this little ghost hear a dog talking? You should know that besides yourself, no one else can feel a dog at all. What's going on? Huangzhuang's thoughts became more and more chaotic, and he fell asleep in a daze. In the front hall, Li Si and the woman who almost covered Huangzhuang knelt side by side. Rong Mama and others glared fiercely at them, and everyone who came out of the palace together, one by one, wished to come forward and tear them apart. Li Si and Li Zhang, you two stole the princess's finances and attempted to harm her. It's too cheap for you to just let them go. Lei Gonggang, please take them back to the capital and hand them over to Pei Shizhi. Then, go to the Dragon Maiden and explain to Pei Shizhi clearly that Pei Shizhi knows how to do it. Do it. Do it. Rong Mama hated and resented, and the power of the final, official business, intensified, as if using these words to scrape off both of them. Please spare your life, Granny Rong. I was just momentarily lost in my mind and didn't intend to harm the princess. Please spare your life, please spare your life. The two of them cried bitterly. It's all her, I was instigated by her. Rong Mama, she's the mastermind. I just had a momentary thought, Rong Mama, please spare my life. It's you. You said you saw boxes after boxes that day. Someone, drag them away. Grandpa Lei shouted. Handing it over to Prince Pei is the best punishment for them. Pei Hongba, Crown Prince Pei, the eldest brother of the Empress, the ghost-seeing sorrow of the Ming Zhao dynasty, the young minister of the Dali Temple, even the deceased can spit out real things in his hands. He wants you to be at the 5th watch, but even the 3rd watch of the King of Hell can't catch anyone. Let these two go to the hands of Prince Pei and seek their own blessings. Chapter 7. Reflection on Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although I started off as a princess, different from the time-traveling female protagonists who were either farmers or unpopular legitimate daughters, I entered the cold palace at the beginning. The only good thing is that I don't have to worry about food and clothing, at least for now. As a princess, she is still wearing clothes and reaching out for milk to open her mouth. She doesn't have to rush around for life or engage in intellectual battles with the harem. Based on everything that Huangzhuang has mastered so far, can she be considered the best time-traveling female lead to get the best script? Huangzhuang has analyzed his present and future recently, and according to the development of this plot, he has come to enjoy a wealthy retirement life by crossing over. It's just a pity that I lost all my abilities. I don't know what kind of food is in this era either. Are there abundant ingredients? When it comes to my past life, my greatest hobby was browsing, eating, and doing business to earn money. As for my skills and aura, if I had to calculate them, it would be my own ghost-catching skills. Only when eating, counting money, and catching ghosts do one feel meaningful. In my own space, there are many good things I have found myself, as well as a small pile of gold. I don't know what kind of inspiration I had at the time, where I exchanged all my RMB for gold, but now it's of no use. Not to mention the fact that the space is as elusive as a dog, even with the character setting that allows one to live comfortably without having to do anything, the gold is only meant to make oneself happy. However, happiness is the most important thing. When I grow up a bit more, I will take a good look at my estate and then see if it needs to be renovated. Oh, yes, and as the little ghost said, there is a hot spring on that small mountain. Isn't the hot spring just a hot spring? When it's developed again, it will be refreshing in winter. Zhuohua spends a lot of time imagining and planning her future as long as she doesn't sleep every day. On this day, the wet nurse was sunbathing with Zhuohua in the yard, and the little ghost was talking to her incessantly. Although she could only occasionally reply with a glance, he always believed that Zhuohua could see him and enjoyed this and that every day. With the addition of this little ghost, she knew the situation of the era she was in. This time and space is different from my original time and space. Without the Tang, Song, Yuan, Ming, and Qing dynasties, the current dynasty is called Mingzhou, which is commonly known as fictional. Looking at clothing, it looks a bit like the Tang dynasty clothing of my own time and space, but in terms of color and style, it is not as rich and gorgeous as Tang dynasty clothing. I don't know if it is due to immature dyeing techniques or the few people I can meet. On the other hand, the architecture here is somewhat similar to that of the Song dynasty, where the roof trusses of each room are constructed using a combination of horizontal beams and vertical columns. In order to enhance the indoor space and daylighting, the column reduction method and the column moving method are adopted. The arch of wooden architecture on the beam column is paved with more layers, and the irregular shaped beam column paving form is also used. Suddenly, a crow fell from the peach tree beside the scorching flower crow. How could crows appear here? This is neither a cliff nor a valley, nor a farmland or grassland. How could a crow appear in the courtyard? And isn't the crow a herd? How could one of them land here? Left alone. Just as Zhuohua and the little ghost were fixed on looking at the crow was also looking at her. How could there be a crow? Hurry up, drive it away. The wet nurse called the maid to drive away the crow, and she carried Zhuohua towards the house. Watching the crow fixed its gaze on itself, Zhuohua inexplicably felt a little uneasy. Chapter 8. Cat Rong Po. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Just that night, while Zhuohua was sleeping soundly, he heard a few crow calls. Immediately after, a person in the yard jumped off the crow's back and slowly landed. Upon closer inspection, this person has a hunched body and a pair of large, cat-like ears growing on his head. 2 ears drooped down to cover her forehead, and from a distance it looked like an old woman wrapped in a headscarf. There is also an eye growing on top of his head, different from the eyes of Erlang God. Erlang God's eyes grow on his forehead, while his eyes are located in the center of his head, standing between his 2 ears, emitting a leisurely green light and covered in bloodstains. Cat Rong Po. Also known as Tiger Anti, it is said to be a monster transformed from a tiger, and is also said to be a clone of leeches, who love to eat young children. Crows exist as scouts for Cat Rong Po. Generally, Cat Rong Po lives on dry trees, so there are also crows living on the dry trees where Cat Rong Po lives. The child with a strong aura you mentioned is right here. Cat Rong Po pointed to Zhuohua's room and asked the crow. Ah, replied the crow, ya, followed by a few low growls. TSK, the star of the danger city, the key to opening the world and the underworld, is actually on this child. It is said that this is not only the key to opening the world and the underworld, but also the tiger talisman that can command the 10 halls of hell and the 4 sides of the night fork, equivalent to a ghost general in the underworld. Cat Rong Po murmured, I wonder if I can become a ghost general in the underworld by consuming the essence of the star of the dangerous city today. Ah! The crow's eyes were so black that they seemed to drip ink, bursting with excitement. Cat Rong Po entered through the door blowing a black puff at the wet nurse who was dozing off at the bedside table with a pestle. The black puff slowly lowered the nurse's head and lay unconscious on the small table. What a pure aura! I've never encountered such a pure aura before. Just smelling it makes me crave it, said Cat Rong Po excitedly, her eyes on top of her head even more terrifying green. Speaking in no time, Cat Rong Po couldn't wait to suck on Zhuohua and saw wisps of white smoke with golden light flowing from Zhuohua's head to Cat Rong Po's mouth. Ah! It was so uncomfortable, and Zhuohua felt like he was falling into an icy spring, cold, piercing to the bone, pain, as if torn apart alive. The whole person is shrouded in fear, wanting to struggle, but as if bound by hands and feet, unable to move as she consumed more and more of the scorching essence and soul. The eye on Cat Rong Po's head grew deeper and deeper, slowly it turned dark green. Just as the white golden light on Zhuohua's head was getting smaller and smaller, a strong golden light rushed out from Zhuohua's eyebrows, like a golden arrow, piercing straight into the huge eye on Cat Rong Po's head. Ah! Cat Rong Po screamed in pain. Immediately, the entire figure broke through tens of thousands of holes, and white golden lights burst out from the holes. These white golden lights seemed to have a trajectory, charging straight towards Zhuohua and instantly surrounding Zhuohua. At this moment, Zhuohua only felt a sudden fire enveloping him, as if he was in a volcano, scorching hot, as if the fire was burning on him, all over him scorching. The golden light inside Mao Rongpa's body quickly flew towards Zhuohua. As the golden light faded away, suddenly, Mao Rongpa was like being hit by an arrow again, and the thousands of holes on her body burst out with green light again, from the dark green slowly turned green then to light green until there was no at this moment. Cat Rongpa seemed to have been drained, like a rag, falling to the ground, and for a moment, it turned into a puddle of water. A seemingly invisible smoke slowly rose from the water dog. Fortunately, the owner is fine. The dog was so weak that he didn't even have the strength to speak. Then, the dog exhausted its last strength and flew into the heart of Zhuohua's eyebrows. Chapter 9. Dogs fall into a coma again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day when the wet nurse woke up, Zhuohua had not yet woken up. She sat with Zhuohua for a while and saw that he still did not want to wake up. She quickly called for Dr. Hu. After Dr. Hu finished his pulse, he angrily spoke up, "Why is the princess's body so weak, as if she has lost money? What exactly happened?" Everyone was shocked. The princess was still fine yesterday, why did her body become weak after sleeping for a while? The crowd was so anxious that they were at a loss. This scorching flower lay quietly on the bed, as if it had lost its vitality. But at this moment, Zhuohua was immersed in a dense white mist, with no visibility of a meter, and the surroundings were quiet, not even the sound of the wind. "Where is this? Is there anyone?" Zhuohua said. As soon as she spoke, Zhuohua was startled. She didn't speak the baby language of whimpering, babbling anymore, but rather the childish voice. Zhuohua lowered her head to look at herself, her short legs and small feet, or the body of a child. Zhuohua carried doubts and slowly groped in the thick fog, but after walking for a long time, he still wandered around in the thick fog. "Where the hell is this?" Zhuohua shouted dejectedly towards the front. "Master." A weak voice sounded from the front. "This sound dogs. Dog, dog, is that you? Dog, dog." Zhuohua ran excitedly forward. But after running for a long time, the thick fog remained by my side. "Master. Help me." The dog's voice continued to ring not far ahead. "Dog, where are you? What's wrong with you?" Zhuohua shouted anxiously as he ran. I don't know how long I've been running, but Zhuohua ran into a meat wall. "Oh my!" Zhuohua's childish voice. "Oh," the little ghost's voice drifted. Two voices sounded simultaneously. "It's you. It's you." At the same time. "Why are you here? Why are you here?" Once again, speak simultaneously. "Where is this?" the little ghost asked again. "Stop. I'll ask first." Zhuohua shouted up in volume. "Firstly, where is this? Secondly, why are you here? Thirdly, aren't you a piao? How can I still bump into you?" Zhuohua asked his own questions one by one. "Firstly, I don't know where this is either. Secondly, I don't know why I am here. Thirdly, what is a piao?" The little ghost answered his question seriously. "Okay," I answered, "but it's no different from not answering." You really can see me. I said you can see me. The little ghost suddenly exclaimed excitedly. Zhuohua rolled his eyes at him. It's my turn, it's my turn. Firstly, where is this? Secondly, why are you here? Thirdly, aren't you a little dull? How can you talk? Fourth, what is piao? After the little ghost finished speaking, he blinked and stared at Zhuohua with his watery big eyes. Firstly, I don't know where this is either. Secondly, I don't know why I am here. Thirdly, I can already speak. Fourthly, piao is piao. The little ghost also rolled his eyes. Just as he was about to say something, the dog's voice came again. Master. Cough cough cough, I'm injured, very, very seriously, cough cough cough. The dog coughed as he spoke, as if feeling very uncomfortable. I was in a coma all along. Last night. Cough cough cough. I felt my master. Cough 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 cough. My breath was getting weaker and weaker. I cough 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 cough. Master, you need more. Piao. I can. The dog's voice became quieter and weaker, and he couldn't finish his final words. Talent. What about talent? Dog, dog. Zhuohua was very anxious now. Listening to the dog's voice, he felt very weak. Can I wake up? This sound seems to be the one I heard when Li Si came to your room to steal something, the little ghost murmured. That day, I wasn't really hallucinating. When I feel my life is in danger twice, the dog will appear to protect me, which proves that the dog crossed over together. So here is it your own space. But this is different from my own space. My own space is like a paradise, with mountains, water, and attic. Does Guzi mean that I need to take away to make him wake up? Zhuohua was full of doubts. Little ghost, what are you thinking? Who was that voice just now? Do you know it? Little ghost Piao sat down next to Zhuohua. You are a ghost yourself, always calling me a little ghost, burning Hua's belly with slander. By the way, what's your name? Zhuohua asked. Baili Chengyu. Little ghost drifted back. Then I'll call you Xiaoyu in the future, Zhuohua said. We need to see how to get out. I've been wandering here for a while, and besides fog, it's still foggy. Even though I'm older than you, you should call me brother you. Baili Chengyu jumped up in anxiety and crossed his waist, saying, I was forcefully sucked away by a breath of force last night, and then woke up here. I've been spinning for a while and still here. Zhuohua is speechless. What should I do if I don't work every day and don't respond to the earth? I really want to howl up to the sky. Chapter 10. Baili Chengyu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhuohua and Baili Chengyu continue to explore their way out in the thick fog. Xiaoyu, I have something to ask you, Zhuohua said to Baili Chengyu, looking up. Can you call you Gu? Baili Chengyu continued to struggle. That day in the Lizzie Hall, I heard you say that you were also a dangerous city star, and also said that you were also a prince for your father and mother. Zhuohua ignored him and asked himself about his doubts all along. This has to start from the day I was born. Baili Chengyu sighed and slowly spoke up. Originally, Baili was the imperial surname of the Chengyu dynasty in the previous dynasty. At the age of 6, Baili Chengyu was destroyed by a huge drought, dating back 594 years. The drought affected the entire dynasty, and even the prosperous south was not spared. In the eyes of the whole country, he was the culprit because he was the star of the dangerous city. It is said that one day, a long, long time ago, a star fell from the sky and landed in one of the richest and most populous parts of this continent, flattening the city. All the houses, fields, residents, and livestock in the city were spared. And in later generations, someone went to that city, which was already a huge crater. The star inside the crater was still there, but it was actually a meteorite. People can vaguely see the word dangerous city on that meteorite, and because of its appearance, it really destroyed a city, so it is called Dangerous City Star. The subsequent downfalls of several dynasties were more or less related to the so-called Dangerous City Star. Zhuohua thought it was pure nonsense, probably because the surface of the meteorite was bumpy and had been portrayed by someone with a heart, and then it was passed down from time to time, becoming a terrible legend. He was the star of the dangerous city 600 years ago. At that time, his father and mother almost fooled him when they heard the imperial censor say he was the star of the dangerous city. It was his grandmother who defended him against public opinion, and he has been raised by his grandmother's side ever since. When he was 6 years old, there was a severe drought that caused the entire dynasty to end in one pot, so this pot was stuck on his head. People are always like this, not looking for reasons within themselves, either blaming God, blaming women, and even blaming children. This time later, people who were even further south from here migrated here and established the new Shi dynasty, which slowly revived this land. After hundreds of years of being vibrant and harmless, the crown princess gave birth to a princess, who is said to be also a star of danger. Later, due to the fact that the monarch of a small border country, Yu Dian, fell in love with this princess and failed to marry her, a war broke out. They also joined forces with neighboring small countries in an attempt to divide up the Xin Shi dynasty. Due to the fact that the Xinshi kingdom had no wars for hundreds of years, and the monarch valued literature over martial arts, it was annihilated by the army. After the overthrow of the Xinshi dynasty, the small country that was originally allied with Li continued to fight for hundreds of years due to conflicts arising from Li. It was not until Zhuohua's great-grandfather rose up in rebellion that the war was quelled and the Ming dynasty was established. So, the dangerous city star has been endowed with the magical function of destroying the country. It can be said that in this world, everyone turns pale when they hear of the dangerous city star. So, have you been wandering alone in this world for nearly 600 years? After listening to Baili Chengyu speak one after another, Zhuohua spoke up. Yeah, anyway, it's just watching the rise and fall of the royal dynasty. Baili Chengyu pouted. Why don't you go for reincarnation? Do you have any attachment? Zhuohua asked curiously. Speaking of this, I am also very strange. I have already arrived at the underworld, but the poor guy said that he let me go before it was time. Time hasn't arrived yet. Yang Shou hasn't finished yet. No, you're not human now. Zhuohua became even more curious. Then I don't know. Baili Chengyu was also unclear. Zhuohua took a deep breath and couldn't figure it out. The world and everything that happened to her were completely unruly.